Now, who will volunteer to our frame over here? Charlie Kirk is Yolanda. I see your hand. Here's your 2 minutes.
Okay. Charlie Kirk was a child of the Most High God, a believer and a man of faith, an evangelist who shared the gospel of Jesus Christ. Charlie was also human, a husband, a father of 2 young children, a son, a brother in Christ. He was passionate and vocal, patriotic and influential, young, opinionated and unapologetic, confident, flawed, yet forgiven. Charlie was deserving of life and love, deserving of the freedom to voice his thoughts, opinions, and beliefs, deserving of grace and forgiveness. Charlie could have been any one of us that has spoken words that offended, held unpopular opinions, or stood firmly on personal beliefs. As God's word promises, Charlie is absent from the body and present with the Lord now, and the cares of this world are no more.
Thank you, Yolanda. I'd be curious to know who has a clarifying question for Yolanda, beginning with, I'd be curious to know. Yolanda, I would be curious to know what moves you to write this today and share with us.
Okay, I didn't see the clock.
I'm sorry. Jim,
Okay.
do you mind pulling?
I got you.
It's been a
That's
bit of
okay.
a courthouse over here. Thank you for your flexibility, y'all. This is why we have 2 people doing this.
Yolanda, go ahead.
Okay. Charlie, I'm a Christian, and Charlie is a brother of Christ. The Bible tells me to mourn with those who are mourning. And it just moved me to just write out my feelings regarding his passing and how he passed. That's all I have.
Elaine, I think you got.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I got it.
Yolanda, did you have a follow-up? I'm sorry, Elaine, did you have a follow-up?
I'd be curious to know who else in your life fits that description.
I'm unclear with the question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, you gave a description of Charlie Kirk, and I'd be curious to know who else in your life fits that description.
I have several people that are my brothers and sisters in Christ. So that's my response to that.
Thank you. Who else would like to ask? Jim, I see your hand. Thank you.
Yolanda, I'd be curious to know when you first became aware of Charlie Kirk as a public person.
So I became aware of Charlie maybe like 3 months before his passing. And I don't know how I became aware. I think something came up on my feed about him. And so I started listening to him and was really intrigued with some of the stuff that he was saying regarding God, that he was so vocal about his faith. And that's probably what drew me most to him.
Okay.
Do you have a follow-up, Jim?
Yeah. Yolanda, I'd be curious to know if you've ever done anything like Charlie did, put yourself out in public and engage in public debate with people about faith.
Yes, I have had deep discussions about my faith, not probably on the platform that he has. I don't have that kind of platform. So, but I have had deep dialogues about faith, and listened to people and who had different views. So yeah.
Thank you.
Peter Peets, question, please.
I have a million of them, but I can only ask one. Yolanda, I would be curious to know, in your belief system, is murder forgivable after this life?
God, okay. The Bible tells us to forgive. Yes. There are no levels of sin or degrees of sin. So yes, murder is forgivable according to my beliefs in the Word of God.
I would like to follow up with, I'd be curious to know if that applies only to Christians and not people in other religions.
I don't know other people's religion, so I can't compare and contrast. I only know what the Word of God says.
Thank you, Peter.
Hey,
Tim, I see your hand.
I'd be curious to know if you consider Charlie Kirk a martyr of the faith.
I consider Charlie a brother in Christ, that has left this world and is present with the Lord now. That's what I consider him as. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up, Tim?
No. I see Jay's hands. Elaine.
Yeah, I do too. Hey, Jay, what's your question?
Hey, Yolanda, I'd be curious to know if in the 3 months you started following Charlie, if he ever said anything as a fellow child of God that you disagreed with. I can make that shorter if that's way too long.
No, that's no problem. Yes, he has said some things that I disagree with wholeheartedly. Nobody's perfect. We're all flawed, and we've all said things that other people may have not agreed with, right? I'm not saying that he was this perfect person, but what I am saying is we're all human and we all fall short. And so I'm not condoning everything that he said, that it wasn't hurtful to people. But we have to look at ourselves too, right? I mean, that's just how I feel about that. But no, there are a lot of things that he said that I didn't agree with.
Do you have a follow-up, Jay?
Yeah, I think so. Yolanda, I'd be curious to know what role Christians have when you have a platform that high.
Do you understand the question?
No.
Let me try to read.
Yeah, rephrase. This is great, y'all. Come on, Jay, you can do this.
I'd be curious to know what you feel like a fellow Christian's responsibility is when they're able to talk on a platform to as big a crowds as he was. Is that better?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying.
Thank you both. That was wonderful. Here's your clock.
I think we all have a ministry. It doesn't matter how big it is. I think that we all have an obligation to use our words wisely. And he was just given a large platform, and he used it in a way that he thought was in alignment with his mission. But I think that we all have a platform and we should use our words wisely, and we should be kind. The Bible commands us to love one another, right? And when we love, and he defines what love looks like, it's kind, and it's caring, right? So I believe that we need to be conscious of that when we use our words with others.
Thank you.
All right, I see Quanta's hand.
Thank you very much. Yolanda, I'd be curious to know that in the New Testament, in Matthew, James, since we're talking about, Jesus, in fact, said that a tongue can be a restless evil full of deadly poison that can set a great forest ablaze. How do we reconcile believing in God and then cursing other people? And then we have to deal as a nation now with the consequences.
Quanta, would you like
Yes,
to
ma'am.
separate that into maybe a couple of questions instead?
Okay.
Try again.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd be curious to know.
I'd be curious to know, how do we reconcile what Jesus taught with the freedom of speech in our Constitution?
You ready?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. My first question again. While we have the freedom of speech, how do we use the freedom of speech within the frame of the teachings of Jesus, who says, do not speak evil?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Here's your
The
clock.
The Bible teaches us that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And what that means to me is that words have power. They have power to harm, they have power to offend, they have power to hurt. And I think that that's why God's put that in the Bible, that words are powerful. He spoke this world into existence. So that just tells me that we need to be mindful of our words. And I hope that answers your question.
Quanta?
Yes, I'd be curious to know, now that Charlie Kirk is with his Lord, do you think that he is paying for his hateful speech with the judgment of God?
I am not the judge. God is.
Thank you
Okay.
for your questions, Quanta. Jim, shall I give you back the clock?
Yeah.
All right,
Would-
thank you.
Who would like to take 2 minutes and respond to the frame? Charlie Kirk was, Yolanda, thanks for going first of all. Who would like to go next and respond to the frame? Charlie Kirk was or is? 2 minutes, uninterrupted listening. Sitting right in front of you.
I'll try it.
Here we go. Linda, thank you.
So I really wasn't that familiar with him until all this happened. So I did some research, and I felt like he was a very AA type personality, very motivated. And I felt like a lot of his comments that seemed hateful were for debate, to spark you up so that somebody would speak up and say, no, that's not true. Like George Floyd was a scumbag, it just dawned on me that he wanted somebody to respond. Or comments that he made about women, or comments he made about blacks. And I think that's just my opinion, but that's the way I took it when first of all, I didn't take it very well. That's who he was. He was trying to get conversation going. He would have been a great one for the 3 practices. And I felt like he did and said what he wanted to do and say, like we all do. And he's being judged because that's what we do. We judge people. We don't like what they say. We don't like it. And instead of doing that lately, I've done it many times. I think, well, exactly, I wonder if I need to look at that differently. And that's why I started looking at what he was saying as I was learning more about him, is that he's trying to poke people. Hey. So they'd speak up and disagree with him so they could get this hot conversation going. And I think that's just who he was. And he's being, his death is being celebrated. He's being criticized. It's horrendous to see that. But I think those are the people that are pretty shallow and they don't want to learn from other people in situations. So they have to just all of a sudden cut them down. And
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Peter Peets, I'd be curious to know for Linda.
Linda, thanks for your comments. I would be curious to know, in your research, did you come up with anything on what his compensation was, or how much he made during his ascension to fame?
Do you understand the question, Linda?
I guess that would be too much for me to answer because I wasn't really super involved with him. And when I'm researching it, I'm getting bits and pieces. So I have to admit that my introduction to him has been recently, because I don't look at social media and I don't look at Facebook stuff. I look at all the news channels, but I wasn't really that familiar with him. But I am looking him up a lot and trying to understand it. Peter,
You have a follow-up?
Oh, thank you.
Someone else I'd be curious to know for Linda. Did anybody raise their hand, or did I see?
I haven't seen.
Okay. I'd be curious to know for Linda. Elaine.
Linda, I'd be curious to know, in your research, did those words or what brought that you found, did that remind you of other people that you've known?
Yes. When I've seen people on the news or on talk shows or whatever, they say things. Do you mean like they say things that are shocking? And trying to get a debate, trying to get attention, trying to get a conversation going. This few times that I did research him and hear him speak, it was just like he was pretty dynamic. But that was his goal. He wanted debate. And now he's being criticized for it and possibly didn't get a chance to answer the question that he really didn't think George Floyd was a scumbag. He was just trying to get somebody to react. And I don't know if I'm answering your question.
And I'll ask you the other one. Do you think, I'd be curious to know, do you think that is a reflection of where we may be as a people and general conversation? That we're baiting, not debating, that we're baiting.
Thank you.
That's a hard one to answer, Elaine. I'm not sure if that's a question for me, but that's a good question for somebody. If I qualify.
Someone else I'd be curious to know for Linda.
Linda, I'd be curious to know how it feels to have someone that you didn't really know about before to be suddenly so present in your life.
Thank you.
I felt like maybe I hadn't been paying attention to watching enough programs on TV, or that I wasn't really involved in it. It was okay. It was very interesting. It was a lot of emotion to actually see who he was and what he was trying to do, and then all of a sudden having that happen. It was a lot of emotion for me to see how young he was and what a future he had and what his goal was. I don't think his goal was to offend people and hurt people. He wanted to debate. That's what people do. People that are debaters they say quite shocking things. And maybe I feel like I missed out somewhat, because it's something I would have loved to have followed up on sooner. Is that
Vanna, you have a follow-up?
Yes. I'd be curious to know how that has changed any of your current conversations or relationships over the last few days.
Thank you.
It's changed some of my, I'm not sure how this has changed it, but I think I'm more trying to reflect on the entire story about the boy who shot him, about his family and how tragic it was for his family. Nobody seems to be talking about how hard it would be to be a mother and a father, and to know that that was your son, and to be a father to turn him in. So I'm kind of reflecting on the whole thing. It's been very quite emotional to think about it, to be the mother, to be the father, and they have a wonderful reputation. People love them. They're shocked. Everybody's shocked. So the whole picture together, it's like a movie. All of a sudden, I need to catch up on it. I've been watching pieces and parts, and I'm willing to see how everybody's going to use this story for the good.
Thank you. Yolanda, I'd be curious to know, or Linda.
Yes, Linda. I'd be curious to know, in his short time, what kind of impact do you feel he's had on the world?
To me, I think he's had an impact of speaking very loud about his goal, turning point. We need to turn away from a lot of things we're focusing on. We're focusing on transgenders, we're focusing on drugs, we're focusing on all this war. And I think he's finally spoken up about a lot of far right things. Maybe people have forgotten. Maybe youth have never heard of. These young people haven't heard of all of that far right stuff. And I was impressed with the fact that somebody spoke up and put the light bulb on. Let's talk about something different, which isn't really anything new. It doesn't hurt to bring some more ideas up, especially to young people when they're just surrounded by so much temptation.
Thank
I
you.
don't even know what the olden days was like. Is how I feel.
I'm laughing with you, not at you. Yolanda, you have a follow-up?
Yes, so I'd be curious to know if you feel that was a good impact or a bad impact or no impact.
Thank you.
I think it was a wonderful impact, because there was a reason. He had a goal for it. He wasn't just doing it just because he wanted to make people upset. I think it was good. We need to wake up. We need to look at something different. I think we're going way too far to the left. And we need to have something to remind us that there is another choice. It doesn't need to be extreme. We don't need to completely turn upside down, but there are other ways of living that maybe in the past it had a better result. But there's just too much talk about all the negative and the awful things and the things we're shocked about. So I think it was good.
Thank you, Linda. Jay, you get the last. I'd be curious to know is for Linda.
Linda, I'd be curious to know if you could give Charlie advice. Would you tell him to change anything about his style?
Nope, I would have no advice for him. Because he was very strong and very determined to do what he was doing. And I think it was good to have that bright light turning on. I mean, you don't need to believe it, but everybody has a right to do it. And I think if it made a good change in somebody or helped somebody turn away from extreme liberalism, I think it was good.
Jay, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Linda, I'd be curious to know what the world might look like if it was full of Charlies.
Thank you.
If it was full of Charlies, there might be more success in him with him having that backup. So there would be more people as an example of what that might look like if they actually followed it. There's just a lot of darkness out there, a lot of things that are so depressing to a lot of us. We wonder if this world is going to blow up or what. Let's think about something different. Possibilities. I mean, at least I do. I get all stuck with all this concerning stuff. And if that's concerning, I think it's just time to talk about it. At least talk about it, at least debate it. Just like we're doing in the 3 practices. This is a fantastic opportunity. I vote that it starts in the school in the 1st grade. So people can learn how to debate, to talk about things, to see the other side without getting upset and angry.
Thank you, Linda. Elaine?
All right. Our frame is Charlie Kirk is. Who would like to take 2 minutes? Henderson.
Well, it's out of character, but to what I did. By the way, when we have silence, we do a lot of counting. We count to 20, 30, 50, 60, because that's what you have to do a lot of times when you're in a room with someone and you're triggered and you have to just find a way to exit without reacting. So this circle is really a place for practicing those kinds of things. Charlie Kirk was a tool. He was used and played by a much larger much larger movement to which he was willingly participated, and he unfortunately is, died, and his wife and kids are there, and that will all make a lot of history. But at this point, what's fascinating is the level of attention his death is getting, which would not happen without his association with Trump, and just clearly would not happen. And so it's hard to imagine Charlie Kirk being a person independent of Trump, because they've used him and he's used them, and it was all done on purpose. And very, very smart people, very smart people. The angles that they've taken on this. The Charlie Kirk is an atheist. Of course, this would all be a very different discussion for Christians because they wouldn't know what to do with him. And some people think he is basically probably some form of an atheist. However, that isn't the thing that's interesting about him. It's just that he is triggering a very dangerous moment in American history, probably unlike anything we've seen in my lifetime. And where people are being canceled for speaking like I'm speaking right now. So this could all be in public. I could get canceled and shut down. And I think it's completely plausible now that that could happen.
Who would like to ask a clarifying question, beginning with I'd be curious to know? Yolanda?
Hi, Jim. So, are you saying that the cancel culture just started with Charlie or with the president, Trump? Is that what you're saying?
Can we try one more time, Ref?
I'd be curious to know if you feel that the cancel culture just started with the election of President Trump and Charlie.
No, it started with, I think the accusations are correct that liberals have primarily practiced cancel culture on college campuses largely. I don't argue with that at all. Uh, and I think that the right, about 50 years ago in my lifetime, the lights went on and they started to become very organized and realized it was a great tactic and have borrowed it from the left to actually begin to implement. And because they're also smarter and more schemy, they are got to hold the apparatus. The guy that runs the budget for the United States now is out of the 2025 Project 2025. And they do not want anything about systemic racism. They're just much smarter and faster than liberals have been. So it did not start, but they picked it up and they're taking it they're driving it into the mechanism of the United States. So no, it did not start with them, but it's being used in a much more serious manner by them.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay.
Peter,
Peter?
I'd be curious to know if I got it. Be curious to know, Jim, if I got it wrong. I thought he rose to popularity, and that's why he was adopted into the Trump campaign, and not he didn't rise. Well, he rose after, but
Do you have the question?
Sure, I'll try.
I think Jim's got it.
He was funded quite early, I think, when he was 16 to 18. I don't know if he was attached to them at that point, but they either spotted him or he spotted them. To me, it's not relevant about who got where. They both got there together, and they found an opportunity to take their ideas further, and thus Charlie Kirk was platformed. I mean, he's going to be way more famous in his death than he was in his life, not unlike JFK, and not even unlike MLK in many ways for white people. These are people, he's a Che Guevara figure for conservative young white men. Principally, I think Charlie Kirk will be seen and understood that way. Standing up for white men, get married, have kids, the whole thing. If you're familiar with Mark Driscoll and Mars Hill Church or any of that stuff, he's down that road. And it's exceedingly dangerous for America because not that that's a wrong idea, but because it's attached to other ideas of control and power. They have every right to proclaim those ideas.
Okay. Okay. The images have shifted on me. Who's next, please?
I think Peter had a follow-up, but
do you have a follow-up, Peter?
I do, but I don't know how to say it. Can I save it up?
You can save it. It's not a problem. We'll move on, and then you can raise your hand again. Jay, I think you're next in the lineup, and then Tim.
Jim, I'd be curious to know if you just isolated his thoughts and actions, what your comments would be about that.
Well, depends on my bias at the time. I could see what Linda was saying about him as being, legitimate because he presents very much as a provocateur, which I understand. And I can see how these words, if we're giving him the benefit of the doubt, everything Linda said makes sense, right? He's just a guy out there trying to pick a fight in public and put off his views. The problem is he's attached to a political party way deeper than anybody normally in that role is. And he's being parlayed by them, to promote their larger ideas. So it depends on which quotes you want to catch him in. I mean, so to Linda's point, he could catch him in all sorts of things, and you could certainly make him sound like a real Christian at times if you wanted to, which I find astounding, of course. But at any rate, he can pass the sniff test and all that stuff. So it depends on which clips you're watching and which day, but you have to get the larger vibe over time to figure out who he is.
Follow up?
Jim, I'd be curious to know if you think he got the thumbs up or thumbs down by God at the pearly gates.
Look at, you don't want to ask me that question. Everybody gets in for me, so whatever. I'm done.
That's a big one.
There's no thumbs up or down. It's like, this place is a mystery. It's a mess. Like, let everybody, God, I hope there's a thing happening out there after this. You know, I'm still holding on to hope of that. But there's just this whole thing we've inherited about heaven and hell and stuff is just like, it's archaic.
Can I change my question since he refused to answer it?
I'm not the ref. You'll have to ask the ref.
Can we come back to you, Jay? There are other people. Okay, all right. We'll come back. Keep your hand up. All right. Yolanda, and then who else had a hand up here? Somebody else maybe. Yolanda, your question. And then, all right. Yolanda,
Okay,
Tim, and then
sure.
back to Tim. Okay.
Okay, Jim, and I'd be curious to know what, in your opinion, is a real Christian?
So I'm looking for somebody that lives a life, doesn't just say stuff. I don't know about Charlie Kirk in that regard. You know, I don't like his style. I understand the whole appeal that Christians want because Christians in America feel persecuted, which is a joke. At any rate, sorry for sharing my real feelings, but that's what we get to do here. And so as a result of that, somebody standing up for Jesus is going to be popular because he's a proxy for a lot of us. I mean, Christians, I may not be considered one anymore. I don't know. Anyway, he's a proxy for Christians because he's being bold and saying stuff, standing up in public. I mean, I admire him just for being a provocateur and doing all that, regardless of what he's selling. But I'm probably more interested in Matthew 25 and Matthew 5 in terms of what I would call a Christian by the way they behave.
All right. Yolanda?
No, I don't have a follow-up. Thank you.
Okay. Tim is next. Tim, do you want to ask the question that you had your hand up for?
Hi, Tim. Nice to see you, brother.
Yeah, Jim, I'm curious, and I'm still trying to formulate the question, so I'm sorry. I'm curious, where does faith step over into politics and become a Christian nationalist?
Yeah.
And are not the liberals doing the same thing by
Ref?
whatever faith they might have? Sorry.
All right. You get two questions, Tim. You don't have to ask them all at once. Jim, do you have the question?
The Christian nationalist question. 100% Charlie Kirk is about promoting Christian nationalism. 100%, in my humble opinion. And he's very good at it. And it's also sugar-coated, but he is infecting. You know, when you get bit by a mosquito, the mosquito doesn't know it's infecting you. You can get malaria from a mosquito, not because a mosquito is wandering around saying, "Oh, I have malaria. I want to give people malaria." They're actually biting you to have lunch. In the process of having lunch on your blood, they're passing a germ into you called malaria, which can kill you. Religion and Christian nationalism is much like this. We get infected in situations where we don't even know that we're being infected. Charlie Kirk was a bug biting people, he passing that germ on, some of which he's conscious about, unconscious, because not everybody thinks Christian nationalism is bad.
Do you need another 30 seconds or
no, I'll just take follow-up's great. Let's do the second one.
Yeah. Tim?
So I'm curious to know, how is that different from the left?
So I'm not smart enough to answer your question thoroughly, but the the right has a much more defined, I mean, evangelicalism, fundamentalism is today's the civic religion of America. All you have to see is Paul Kane standing next to President Trump, and you got the whole Pentecostal fundamentals thing going on. So that's the one, it's got the sample rule. So they have a much more articulated theology as it relates to that than people on the left, in my opinion. However, to your point, people on the left, of course, have been pushing their agenda, but they're just coming to the party now as it relates to religion, in my opinion, because religion has always been kept out, which is part of the reaction in America that where's religion playing something. So there's this very confusing conversation going on. But I do agree that people on the left are now either acting like they're religious or not, or whatever it is, because they're aware it's an actual thing that Americans care about.
All right. I think that was your two, Tim. And Jay, your hand?
Jim, I'd be curious to know if a conservative Christian could exist and be like Christ.
I have friends, Jay, that who you would know that, of course, that are that. Of course they can be. You know, what the problem was, we're not actually, in my opinion, talking about religion, spirituality, faith. We're talking about politics here, and we're talking about primarily ideology. And in America, we get to do that because we get to do it so far. You know, what I'm worried about is this conversation is going to become too dangerous to have within a year or two. And that's concerning to me. And that's on the mega world. That's on the high control conservatives that are going to do that. Uh, and so, of course, a conservative Christian can be authentic, very authentic. I had very close friends that polar opposite views. That they'd be appalled at the things I'm saying right now. But we hang out. We love each other. We're good.
Follow up? Or is that was your follow up?
That
Yeah.
was
your follow up.
That's
Okay.
enough. All right.
Okay. Okay, do me a favor, lower your hand, and then I'll come back to Peter, who finally gets his question. His last second question.
Can I go?
Peter?
Yeah. So this is to what you just said. I would be curious to know a little bit more how you made that 2-year projection where religion in politics is going to be dangerous and or something critical to you.
By reading some very thoughtful historians that are reflecting on the moment we're in, and they're reflecting on their own personal fear of understanding why it's not safe. You'd have to read Hannah Arendt, I think is how you pronounce her name, you know, from the Nazi era to understand the thinking. But it's the signals are coming when I personally worry right now, and I've never done this in my life, that this conversation could be easily tracked, hello AI, by the government who wants to find info on me, you know, and they could control me and they could control my speech. People are being, what part of America is it cool for me to say something negative about Charlie Kirk, and then I get fired from my job? That did not used to be a thing. We used to fight and argue, but you didn't fire people from their job. That's happening today. Okay,
All right, Jim?
I got it. Who would
Got
like
it?
to take the last 2 minutes to respond to this frame? Charlie Kirk was or is? Who would like to get the last shot at this today? Hang on 1 second, Elaine, if you would, please. Sure. Who would like to take 2 minutes? Brian, are you raising your hand? I can't tell. Are you just moving your hat? Yeah, you're good. You must not. I can't see your hand if you raise. You're gonna have anyway. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, Peter.
Elaine, I know you really want to go though.
No,
No,
it's
go
okay.
ahead.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead,
We're
Peter.
refs. We're refs.
Okay. I don't want to lose my job, so I'm reluctant. My personal opinion, and I must admit it's quite anecdotal because it's just what I hear and I haven't researched like Linda had. And as much as I tried to avoid the news in the last little while, you can't. And so my opinion, and this is all it is, and I'd be happily challenged on this, is I think he was just intoxicated on his rapid rise to notoriety. He recognized his talents and his gifts and how easily he could persuade other people. And he found a cause, or maybe already had the cause that he wanted to champion. And I think as a young man, that's when he became drunk on it. When he started the college programs and targeted that as how he would start off his organization. And I could just picture him going to one meeting and going back to his friends or his parents going, oh man, they love me. They, these people think I'm great. And then just doing it again and just getting that charge again. And as we've all seen, people that do that, they, of course, think that's a validation, and that's what gives them the authority to say, hey, I'm right. And I just think that's what happened with him. The intoxication just became stronger and stronger and stronger until he realized that not only is he powerful, but he's effective. And it just fed him more. And I think through that process, he can say, hey man, I can almost say anything I want because people love me.
Thank you, Peter. I'd be curious to know for Peter Peets.
Well, I will.
Linda.
I'd be curious to know what you think of the people that celebrated his death and the way he was killed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just would respond the way Bernie Sanders did. And if you're not familiar with that, I would look it up on YouTube just the day after. He made a fantastic statement which represented that no matter how we disagree with a person, everyone has to come out and say that was wrong.
Yeah, I heard that. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up, Linda?
No, thank you.
Okay. Someone else I'd be curious to know for Peter Peets. Jay.
Peter, I'd be curious to know if you think that Christian Kirk, his personality was the same day to day that it was on stage.
No. And that's my bias. Our public persona is very different from our personal one. And that's why you have the children of great men going, why do you guys like this guy? We live with him. How can you love him? And it's an act. Public appearances are an act. No matter how good you are, it's an act. No matter how right you are, it's an act. You have to project an image. And again, that's a bias. And as I've seen people work, um, people of notoriety work with a very strong public image. And actually, all of us here, I think, are like that too. That our public image is very different from our private image.
Jay, I'd be curious to know.
Peter, I'd be curious to know if you think Charlie Kirk had any positive impact from his platform?
Whoa. Yeah, somebody kind of asked that before also. That's a very good question. What's the upside? Is there an upside to this? Or are you asking before he got killed, was there an upside?
Either or.
You know, we might be able to get an upside out of the tragedy. I can't tell you, I'm sorry, I'm not qualified to really effectively say what was the upside of before he was killed. I'm hoping, Jay, that the upside is that we remember this like we do 9/11 tragedy, that, you know, this is the day we won't forget, and this is the day where we need to just figure out how to be better citizens, better neighbors, better true believers of whatever we believe, and just fight against what can destroy our quality of life.
Thank you. We end 3practice circles with thank yous, and the first thank you I want to say is to everyone here for participating in this workout, because these, hopefully you heard things that you didn't agree with, and you got triggered or initiated in some way, because this was not actually about changing anybody's mind, because we've abandoned hopes for that. But we do believe that clarity helps us prepare for relationships. This is about helping us actually sustain relationships with people that are ideological different from us. So we end 3practice circles with thank yous to people who challenged us or made us think or encouraged us by something they said, or even the way they said it, especially if they demonstrated unusual curiosity, or staying in the room with difference, or resisting the impulse to compare their best with other people's worst. Who did you notice saying or doing something in this circle that you would like to thank them for?
I want to thank everybody for their questions. It really made me think, and it challenged me. And this is my favorite time of the day. I loved it. Everybody did great.
Thank you, Linda. Someone else.
I've got 3, Jim.
Pardon me?
I've got 3.
Go for it.
Yolanda, thank you for going first and being willing to declare what you believe, as you see things or as you've been taught, and handling tough questions. Linda, thank you for reminding us that we judge. That's just what we do by reflex, and very interesting perspective that he was about trying to get people to think and poke people. Jim, thanks for taking 2 minutes. Good to hear from you. You're always quiet on these things because you're moderating, but again, I love hearing your perspective, your wisdom. 3 points are fantastic. Well, interesting. You know, Jesus is proxy for all of us, and the hell and heaven model is problematic, and mosquitoes. These are great points.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Quentin.
I wanted to thank Peter with his comment. He kind of hit it in the nail, they call it. Yeah, I think intoxication with dollar and power, that really leads to a lot of problems. And we are seeing in the last 10 years the obvious results of it.
Thank you. Someone else. We don't believe in overthinking as a problem, so just, you can go twice if you like. Jay Curley.
I'd like to thank Jim for reaffirming that politics are of the world and religion almost refuses to exist inside of it in its truest form.
Thank you. Someone else? I'd like to thank everybody who did not speak or say anything, but bore witness and were present. It matters a great deal. and we are deeply appreciative that you sat through this entire thing with us and took it all in. Last call for thank yous.
Thank you for having a circle that was really timely and challenging and helpful.
Thank you, Lana.
Thank you
So,
for the opportunity to practice listening.
thank you. Yeah. If you are interested in these, I'm sorry, did you have your hand, Ronnie? Yeah, Ronnie?
I want to thank all of you for your comments, for the questions. This has been a very intriguing to me last 3 or 4 days, listening to different conversations, listening to how Charlie has been described and how Charlie has not been described.
Yeah.
And to be able to listen to all these different opinions as far as why the controversy, why not controversy, it's been eye-opening in a sense that I've been able to hear some things that maybe I did not think about.
Right.
And then I've been able to hear some things that I maybe have already thought. But just to be able to hear everybody's opinions has been fantastic. So thank you for allowing me just to listen, as Melinda said, to work on my listening skills to be able to try to help somebody else to understand what's going on with this big controversy when it comes to our nation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to thank anyone who is not a Christian in this circle for bearing with those of us who presume everyone is. And I hope that it provided you some insights into the confusion that goes on between Christians as well. So thank you for that. If you are interested in this, Brian?
I see Brian's over there.
Thank you. I'll keep it short, but I just want to thank the whole group for showing up to participate in an excellent free speech forum like this. We can't take these things for granted. Of course, we know that. And whatever, none of us appreciate any form of cancel culture or anything like that. So I just want you to know I appreciate listening in and participating in a forum like this because it's hard earned. There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears shed over several centuries to create something like this. So anyway, I enjoyed it and thank you very much.
Thank you. If you or anyone else you know would like to have another conversation about Charlie Kirk, we're doing one more tomorrow. I put it in the chat. You can register there or feel free to share this with anyone you know. The frame is again about Charlie Kirk, but it allows people to dig into their issues around all of this and share them. So thank you all for that. And there's also upcoming other circles that are going on that Elaine put in the chat. You can check that. We have usually one a day of one type or another. And if you're interested in learning how to do this, be a referee, we have trainings. You can go to the website and find out about how that works out. Okay. With that, the circle is officially closed. And if you have time for a short visit and want to ask a question, we'll stick around for a few minutes. However, we won't relitigate what we just did. So